The Chargers have an uphill battle this weekend in Kansas City, and if they want to have a chance, Tuli Tuipulotu and the Chargers pass rush have to have a big game.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Drogemeyer, and we've been covering the Chargers together now for 8 seasons, but this is our 6th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you guys, as always, for making us your first listen today, and to make sure you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel, and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, what do we got today?
Big time game against the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, and we're going to get into our keys for success on defense, on offense, and then get into our bold end game predictions.
That is what it is. The Chargers obviously are going to have to play a great game this weekend. Like I said on the crossover, it feels like they're going to have their best game of the season. But this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. David, there's a lot of things you could go with for me in this game as far as what the Chargers have to do to give themselves a chance, right? It's always been close between Brandon Staley going up against the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. But in this game in particular, it feels like the Chargers pass rush has to get home. I mean, Tuli Tuipulotu has been awesome. Joey Bosa is practicing more this week than really we've seen since week 1.
Good news.
And Khalil Mack has 7 sacks in the last 2 games. That just sounds crazy. Obviously, he had 6 in 1 game, but I mean, 7 in 2 games still sounds awesome, right?
Sounds great.
To me, I think the X factor here is Tuli Tuipulotu, because the one thing I think he brings even more than Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, which might sound wild, is like, I feel like he's a little more athletic. He's a little younger, a little more agile, I would say. Last week, he had a clear open sack where he could have gotten home and didn't, and just totally whiffed. If he has chances this week and he can chase down Patrick Mahomes, I think that's going to be huge. And the Chargers, obviously, it's not just getting home 4 sacks and things like that, David. It's corralling him and keeping him in the pocket.
Yeah, I think that last point is very, very important, especially because per PFF, Patrick Mahomes is 192 yards gained from scrambles this season, which is first in the NFL. So if it feels like he's just gliding past defenders and getting to the first down line, well, he is. That's exactly what is happening. He has done it for way too long, way too many years, ever since he got into the NFL. It's just been one of those annoying aspects. So it's not just about the pass rush getting home and harassing Patrick Mahomes. It's about staying disciplined. It's about making sure that you're staying in your rush lanes and that you do not allow him to escape the pocket, because that is when he scrambles. That is when he creates explosive plays, and you have to limit that as much as possible in this game.
Plus, I just hate the way he runs, like the weird waddle run that he has. I just hate it, and it looks like he's not athletic, but he's actually pretty fast. It's the worst. But I think Tuli's probably the fastest one of that group, and I just think that Tuli is built like a linebacker, right? Khalil Mack is a little bit, but he's a little older, obviously, but he has more of a linebacker body, where Joey Bosa is more of a defensive end body, right? Like, to me, at least. So,
yeah.
The other part of that, David, in corralling him is collapsing the pocket. And to do that, you need your defensive tackles to get the push in the pocket to collapse the pocket around him. That's what you have to do. If you just have a bunch of guys running in different directions and you leave him lanes to run, he's going to run.
Yeah, you can't
right?
do
So
that.
I think that's why you have to get the push in the pocket as well. Good thing is the Chargers have Morgan Fox. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs have a good line too, and that's the hard thing, right? I mean, they're a solid line. It's not like this is going to be an easy matchup, but the Chargers have to win this matchup if they don't want to get cooked in this game, in my opinion, right? But Morgan Fox quietly has 5 sacks this season, David. Like, it's something we haven't talked about nearly enough. Man. He's a half a sack behind, Chris Jones, the guy he's going up against in this game, and he's played 1 less game. Like,
and
he's had
paid
a sack
fraction.
Man, I mean, he's on pace for 17 freaking sacks right now. Like, it's nuts. So I think it's cool to, have Morgan Fox as someone you can legitimately feel like is going to get pressure on the inside and help those guys on the outside keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket and collapse on him, so you can pin him down and actually get him on the ground, because that's going to be huge in this one. Where else do you want to go as far as keys for the Chargers defense in this game?
Yeah, so my next key is stay glued to Travis Kelce's hip. I mean, the entire time, from whistle to whistle, there is nobody else in the NFL that finds the soft spots in the zone and stays active and stays available for his quarterback more so than Travis Kelce. So it is so vitally important that you stick with him until the play is over, because he has such an annoying knack of finding that one soft spot. Patrick Mahomes is going to hit him, and then it goes for a big play. And so that happens way too often. You can't let that happen in this football game. He's the biggest weapon on that team, and you got to know where he is, and you have to make sure you stay glued to him from beginning to end.
Yeah, and it's funny because I have the same note. I just worded it a little bit differently, and on mine it says, please, for God's sakes, have a plan for Travis Kelce, right?
Exactly,
and it's just the Chargers' track record against number one receivers, and we're counting him as the number one receiver in this game,
definitely.
Obviously by a mile, and there's no one even a fraction of the way close to him.
Nope.
The problem is, David, Travis Kelce has played 4 games against Brandon Staley-led defenses. He has 28 catches, 461 yards, is an average of 115.3 a game, and 5 touchdowns. More touchdowns than he has games played against them. In the last game they played against each other, Chargers could not slow him down. That was 6 catches, 115 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
And I just remember him streaking through the secondary and getting into the end zone for a walk-off touchdown. To pull my hair completely out of my skull.
Yeah, and in this season, David, I mean, Travis Kelce has less than 70 receiving yards in 4 of his 5 games.
Yeah,
of course, last week he went 9 for 124 against the Broncos. But, like, it's not like he's having, you know, a year up to his standards. And it's just like if the Chargers let another wide receiver 1 or tight end 1, receiving option 1 in this case, go off, like CeeDee Lamb, 7-on-7 targets for 117. Justin Jefferson, 7 for $150. Tyreek Hill, 11 for 215. Like, you know who you have to stop. You have to have a better plan. You better not be seeing Jasir Taylor trying to take on Travis Kelce in the slot. So it's just, you have to have a better plan. David, this one I think is key, though. And Daniel Popper just wrote a great article about the Chargers, and you know, Brandon Staley saying they're a good third down defense. Daniel Popper kind of disproved that. So that's why my key here is actually be good on third downs defensively. This is the biggest thing from Daniel Popper. When you factor in the penalties into the third down conversions, the Chargers are not a good third down team. If you just look at the raw numbers, they're 4th in the NFL. They get off the field 67% of the time, but they're 17th when you factor in the penalties. This was the craziest thing to me. This season, including penalties, the Chargers have allowed conversions on 8 of 12 third downs with at least 11 yards to gain. That means teams are completing 3rd and 11 pluses at a 2/3 clip, David. I know that drives you insane.
It's disgusting. I can't
it's wild,
stand
dude.
it.
It's wild.
It is, like, honestly, it's physically painful, because those are the moments where your defense should be in its biggest advantageous position. You should be able to pin your ears back and go after the quarterback and get him on the ground. And the Chargers have done that at a high level, except for on 3rd and long.
It's crazy.
So, yes, it's infuriating.
No other team is above 43%. They're at 66. No other team is at 43 or better. Every other team in the NFL.
It's a joke, but if the Chargers...
Sounds made up.
And they've done such a great job this year of getting into 3rd and long situations where you're like, okay. But the thing is, you can't even feel good about being in that situation because of this issue. And also, stop giving all of the big cushions on 3rd and long.
Yeah.
Play man-to-man. Get pressure in their face
Michael Davis,
and force them to beat you. Force Patrick Mahomes to make a perfect throw off his back foot. More often than not, he's not going to make those throws. And he's already thrown multiple interceptions this year. 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
3 of those interceptions have been when he's throwing the ball 20-plus yards down the football field. So you need to make sure that when you're in those 3rd and long situations that you get off the dang football field.
Yeah, and I think you feel better with, you know, Dean Marlowe back there now, obviously. And who knows about Jalen Watkins, their new signing that actually got carted off the field before we had a show and a chance to even talk about him joining the team. Yeah. Of course, but supposedly it's an illness. That's a whole weird conversation.
That's
we don't
an
have time
interesting
for
one
today. But yeah, the third downs are going to be where this game is won. And if the Chargers can keep him in the pocket, I think they'll have a good chance on those third downs, or just get him into as many 3rd and 1s as possible, because they seem to overthink it every time. But we have to get into our keys for the Chargers offense. And to me, I'm not overthinking it, David. I think you got to feed Keenan Allen, because he's been your best, most consistent weapon, and you need to be able to find him good matchups, because they're going to try to put Trent McDuffie on, and they got to try to fight against that. And we're going to get into that coming up right after this. First, though, I need to tell you guys something about something very important, and it's the Jace case from Jace Medical. And everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected, and that's why Jace Medical offers the Jace case. told a story on yesterday's show just about my grandpa living in Paradise, California, a town that got almost completely burnt to the ground, 95%. And I worried so much about him during that time. And it made me just aware of how unprepared I am. And it's nice to say now I have the Jace case to be able to give to him. And the best thing about Jace case is it offers customizability for your Jace case with dozens of medications that you can add on to best fit the needs for your family. I know in California you have fires, earthquakes. This is something that's going to bring your family peace of mind, which is priceless. But all you have to do is go to jacemedical.com and enter promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON at JASEmedical.com. I also need you guys to snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. You put $5 down, no matter what, you're getting $200 in bonus bets. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. I mean, there's nothing better than FanDuel and your, red zone, whatever you're watching on Sunday. It's the best way to fully maximize your football Sundays, which have been great, especially on the weekends with no Chargers football. There's so much to do. Spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. And right now, the Chiefs for this game, currently 5.5-point favorites over the Chargers on Sunday. And every game has been less than 6 points against these two teams since Brandon Staley has taken over, even with all the yards he's allowed. But the one I like this week and why I love FanDuel specifically is all the specials that they have. And this week you go with Travis Kelce and Keenan Allen combining for 15 catches, which you can currently get at plus 165, which is pretty good. Travis Kelce averages over 7 catches per game against Brandon Staley's defense. I think Keenan Allen could have a big day. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season in style. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, David, let's get into the keys for the Chargers offense. And for me, I made it really simple. I want to see the Chargers feature their best offensive player, and that has been Keenan Allen, 31-year-old Keenan Allen so far this season. To me, this is a huge matchup because I don't think the Chargers can kind of afford to let the game plan get away from him too much. I mean, the second, he's had 76 or more receiving yards in 4 of the 5 games so far this season. Obviously has a 200-yard game this season. But Trent McDuffie is one of the premier slot corners in the NFL this season. So if you have to move him outside, if you have to move him around to get those better matchups, I think you have to do it because I just think that Keenan Allen, if he is not involved in the offense, I just have major concerns about this team being able to sustain drives but go without having the lulls on the offense that we've seen over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think it's not that hard mathematically to figure out that Keenan Allen gets open more than anybody else on the Chargers football team on offense. So you need to get him the ball.
And I think you want to make them overcover him, right? Because the thing is if you feed him early and then you make them overcompensate, then you're getting better matchups for the guys that you don't feel as good about. And I think that's a huge part of it too.
Absolutely it is. I mean, Keenan Allen, you know that he's going to get a lot of attention, but you need to move him around. You need to make it a guessing game where he's going to line up, where he's going to move to. The Chargers have done a really good job this year of using motion to kind of get him in better situations, in better matchups. That needs to continue, and you need to get the ball in his hands because the Chargers offense goes very, very well when Keenan Allen has the ball.
And it felt like last week too. It's like actually hit him too when he's open, Justin. I know, you usually do. But, if you get those options, I mean, last week he had 85 yards. Could have been
that could have been 160 at
$140, $160. That's what it could have been last week.
Because he catches one of those balls, he shakes that safety and it's a touchdown. I mean,
sure, and even if he doesn't, he's probably getting 40 a clip on each of those, right? And
Absolutely.
A touchdown on one of them. So I think you don't want to overthink it, but obviously, David, for Justin Herbert in this game, having his #1 option be available and being able to feed him will be perfect. And I think also getting him on the move, right? Using his God-given athletic ability is something that you want to see.
It is. It's definitely something it's a major key for me. I think last year when the Chargers moved the pocket and they got Justin Herbert on the move and you were able to see him throw across the field, he can do that because he has that type of arm. You saw a lot of explosive plays come out of that, and I think we haven't seen that as much this year. He hasn't, you haven't moved the pocket, you haven't used enough rollouts. You need to use Justin Herbert's athleticism to kind of, make the defense work harder. When you move that pocket, when you have a quarterback that's moving on the run, you have to respect that rushing ability, and that's when Justin Herbert can hurt you. That Justin Herbert has that accuracy. He can make those throws. I want to see them move the pocket. I want to see them get the quarterback on the move and try to create some explosive plays that way.
And this is how you do it. let Justin Herbert throw the ball more on first down, right?
Yeah.
That is the big thing from this. This is from Warren Sharp from last week's game. The Chargers on first downs on their first drive of the game, obviously a scripted drive, I know that. They averaged 14.3 yards per play on that drive, right? Every other first down the rest of the game, they only passed it 48% of the time, and they got 1.8 yards per play, right? That's a 12.5 yard per play difference. Get him easier looks.
Yeah.
Get him chances against the base defense, right? That's how other teams are hurting the Chargers, right? They're taking their shots on first down.
Yeah.
The Chargers need to take advantage of first down, and I think the other great benefit of that is if you can get them those easy throws on first down, if you can find some chunks on first down, you're avoiding third downs, which have been super hit or miss for them so far this season.
I agree 100%. You need to be aggressive on first down, Daniel, and I think Justin Herbert throwing the football has illustrated so far that that's when the Chargers are going to have their
and that's
most
when
success.
You get play action, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how you get play action. It's hard to do play action on 3rd and 8, right? It doesn't work that way, and that's how you get them on the move.
And it doesn't have to be all, shots down the field. I like to see the quick passing game as well. I would like to see them get guys like Darius Davis involved. I mean, I want to see those swing passes to the flat where you can let him use his quickness, his field vision, his athleticism to get those yards after catch. I want to see him more involved. He barely got any touches last week. That can't happen. He's the fastest guy on the field. He definitely needs the ball in his hands. When he does have the ball in his hands, he makes things happen. So you need to manufacture touches for Darius Davis. I'm going to call that my Alvin key because I know he screams about speed. But I'm with him. I'm with him on this one. You got to use him. He is a weapon. Weapons need to be featured in the game plan.
Yeah, maybe like Quentin Johnston. He seems like a guy that could be a weapon if the Chargers decide to use him. Please.
If you do a wide receiver screen and it is not to Quentin Johnston, then you are doing it wrong. He needs to be featured in that play. And Kellen Moore talked about it. When he talked about in his press conference today, he said, hey, we're getting close on Quentin Johnston. I need to do a better job of scheming him and getting him involved in the game plan. Let's see if that matriculates on Sunday.
Put your money where your mouth is, right? If you don't see Quentin Johnston getting at least a couple of targets in, full speed run situations, even if it's just giving him a couple of chances deep to go do something, right? Like,
yes.
Give him something. So I think this key is more of a question for me, David, and it's like, is there going to be a running game, right? Like, I think for the Chargers, the best way that they can kind of defend themselves against the pass rush, and I think the thing is I know I said throw it more on first down. You don't have to run it in obvious running situations, right? Like, you don't have to just always run it on first down. You can do other things. I mean, if you're looking for a weak spot on this Kansas City defense, they're 23rd in yards per carry allowed this season. So, like, they're much better against the pass than they are against the run. Will we see a running game? Austin Eckler's back. I mean, the offensive line has the healthiest week they've had in a long time. I mean, everyone's full participant all week on that offensive line. Yeah. Austin Eckler, full participant this week. Like, can they get something going? Because you have to have Justin Herbert doing it by himself against a complete team like the Chiefs. It's not going to work.
You got to have the balance, Daniel. You absolutely have to have the balance. And one of my keys is just bring the dang physicality. I mean, I used a different word, but I'm not going to use it on the show. But you got to impose your will. I mean, you got to get back to going north and south and running people over. Stop waiting for the defense to initiate contact. Go out there and hit somebody. Run through somebody. Block through somebody. Get to the second level. Open things up for your running backs and go get some yards. You got to bring some more balance to this offense. If you don't, then you're going to see what happened to Justin Herbert last week, which was pressured on about half of his dropbacks, which is something you just can't have. If you run the football more effectively and they have to respect that and honor it, then they can't rush that effectively against you.
Yeah, and I think it's up to the offensive line. I also think it's up to the tight ends who have to really account for a pretty fast group of linebackers that they're going up against, right?
Yeah, you're going to make Kellen bring out the Hulk package if you don't do your job properly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it just feels like give Justin Herbert something in that regard.
Please.
When there's no protection, where there's no running game, you're not going to win most games. You're definitely not going to beat the Chiefs. Like,
you're making them go up Everest in that situation.
Yeah, you're going up against a legitimate, really, really good team. You have a chance to go do something. Don't make Justin Herbert have to do it by himself, because if you do, the odds are not in your favor. Let's put it that way. But do we think the Chargers can actually pull this thing off? We're going to talk about our game and our bold predictions and get wild coming up right after this. I do want to tell you guys about my favorite place to play daily fantasy sports, and I'm talking about Prize Picks, of course, because with Prize Picks, all you have to do is select 2 players, pick more or less than their projected stats, place your entry, and the more entries that you hit on, the more you can win. If you hit up to your 6 entries and 1, you win up to 25 times your money. I love all the promotions they have going on at Prize Picks. My favorite one easily, Taco Tuesday, which is every Tuesday you get a 25% discount on the projections that they're using. So if it was Keenan Allen going for 100 yards, now it's only 75 receiving yards, right? This is the ones I like for this week. You go with Justin Herbert throwing more than or less than 268.5 passing yards, or Austin Eckler. I don't know if this is a more than, might be a less than 49.5 rushing yards. The Chargers have only had a running back hit 50 yards in 2 of their 5 games so far this season. There's tons of promotion, tons of great things going on. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LockedOnNFL for that first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. I also have to tell you guys about one of my actual just favorite things in the world, and that is DoorDash, right? And DoorDash for Chargers fans and football fans is especially great because if the Chargers break your heart, sometimes you don't want to be running around, right? Sometimes you don't want to be going seen in public. You don't want to have to take your Justin Herbert jersey off, but you also don't want to walk around knowing what the Chargers just did to you. Get it delivered to you. And it's not just fast food or your local restaurants, even though that is the best thing about DoorDash for sure. Trying out local spots that you haven't tried, finding the great hidden gems in your community and supporting those communities is great. But if you need groceries, you can do that too. Get your football Sunday once 10 o'clock Pacific time hits. You got football all day. You can't afford to go out. Use DoorDash, and right now you can get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code LOCKED23, subject to change. Terms apply. Don't forget, that's use code LOCKED23 for 50% off to $10 on your value on your first order when you download the DoorDash app. Spend $15 or more, subject to change. Terms apply. All right, David. Well, now it's time to get into our bold and game predictions. I'm very interested to see where you're going for your predictions this week because it's hard when you're going up against a good team, right? When there's bad teams and there's obvious weaknesses, that's when it gets a lot tougher. And make sure you guys are back here. We will be doing a live show on Sunday after the game when it won't be so late like it was on Monday Night Football. We will for sure have a live show on Sunday night, so make sure you're back here for that. And also make sure you guys are checking out Locked On NFL Kickoff Live, 2 p.m. Eastern time today, every Friday, with Tanitra Batiste, Jarvis Davis, and Kyle Krabs, and every local expert throughout the NFL and the Locked On NFL Network, getting you up-to-date news from every single team around the league. And that's 2 p.m. Eastern time every Friday. David, let's get to our bold predictions. Let's go on offense here. Who are you going with this week?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on earlier about manufacturing some touches for this guy. So my bold prediction is centered around Darius Davis.
Oh, I like it.
They are going to get him touches. I'm going 10 touches. That's carries and receptions.
10 touches?
Yes, 10 touches. I think they're going to get him the ball quite a bit. I like it, and I think he's explosive. He makes things happen in the open field. 10 touches, 120 yards, and a 40-plus yard touchdown.
That's how you do bold predictions. And it's funny because I'm going to go the exact opposite of you. I'm going to go Donald Parham in this game.
Let's go.
2 catches, 2 touchdowns.
Hey, that's what he does, man.
The Chargers have to be better in the red zone. I think it's symbolic, too, because if you guys remember, he had a very scary injury a couple of years ago against the Kansas City Chiefs, almost catching a touchdown pass actually in the back of the end zone when it happened. Have everything come full circle. Last week, the Chargers started the second half by getting 3 points on their first 2 red zone drives. That's the game right there, right? Like, that's where the game was lost potentially last week. Didn't get those points when you had that chance. Now you're going up against the Chiefs. You know you can't blow your chances. Donald Parham, probably outside of Keenan Allen, has been your most dominant red zone, end zone weapon.
No doubt.
Get him the ball in that area. Where are you going for the defensive side of things here, David?
I love it. So I touched on earlier about Patrick Mahomes throwing some interceptions past 20-plus yards. I think this is going to be a game where
Dean Marlowe
the gambler, Asante Samuel Jr., the guy who got 3 interceptions in a half in a playoff game last year, I think he's going to come alive, and he's going to get 2 interceptions in this game. I think Asante Samuel Jr. has a big game, and the Chargers absolutely are going to need it in this one.
Yeah, and I mean, just for God's sakes, just don't grab anyone, right? Like, this is one thing I've noticed when watching the Patrick Mahomes games this year, and I talked about it with Chris Clark of Locked On Chiefs. So many times this year, he will throw a ball that he knows isn't going to get caught because he's expecting a flag. Yeah. And the flag always comes, and they always give it to him. And, like, half of the time, it's ending up in interceptions that don't count. Like, don't give him anything for free. If the Chargers don't get a holding penalty or a pass interference in this game, I would almost guarantee you they're going to have an interception. Something's going to stand because he's been giving teams chances so far.
Yeah, he's been pretty loose with the ball. Yeah,
of course, and I think it's possible. I think it's bold, but I also think it's possible because this has been a year where he's been a little bit more reckless. At least 5 picks, through 6 games. So
yeah,
I'm going a defensive team stat for this one.
Okay.
6 sacks and 2 forced fumbles by the Chargers defense. I don't know if they'll recover the fumbles. I'm not going to go that far, but I think it's such a huge key for this game for the Chargers to get to him. Like, if they can bring him down 6 times, that's like 6 times you're not letting him get out of the pocket and create, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully every sack, though, ends up with like a 3rd and 9, anything less than like a 3rd and 11, because now we know 3rd and 11 pluses are terrible for them. But the Chargers, at least 4 sacks in 4 straight games. They have 5 sacks in 3 of their last 4 games. Joey Bosa more healthy this week, it looks like.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least practicing all week. That's great news.
Yeah. I mean, the 4 guys they have, when they have Morgan Fox, Tuli, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, it's like almost unguardable. Daniel Popper had a stat. It's like 26% of the time they get home, not for pressure, for sacks. And the league average is like 7%.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's like literally, 400% of the league average.
But it's truly pick your poison. I mean, who are you going to block? You can't double team them. I mean, you got all those guys coming at you. I mean, you got to pick who you're going to put those extra resources on, and good luck.
And when you have those guys out there, to your point, right, let the corners get up on them. Let them take away the quick passes because somebody's going to get there, right?
Yes.
Like, someone's getting home, someone's causing pressure. A quick pass is going to come out, right?
Force them to get open. Force them
what
to
the Chargers corners are
perfect throw.
Better at anyways, right?
Yeah.
They're better at pressing. They're better at man. Like, it's just
be physical.
Use those, especially in those moments. So,
Definitely.
David, time for the game predictions. I'll let you go first because I don't know I don't even know if you could pick the Chargers to go and win this week. I mean, it's such a tough thing. Like, obviously, they could win this game. It should be close, but what do you think is going to happen?
I absolutely believe the Chargers can win this football game. This is a Chiefs team, especially in offense, that is not clicking on all cylinders, not even close. And I think that their defense is a lot better than their offense this year. And I think it's the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era that that's the case, which that sucks. That's annoying as heck.
Games, right? Yeah.
But you just hope that he doesn't figure it out in this game, regardless of that fact. I truly, on everything in my mind, hope and want the Chargers to win this game. But as an analyst, looking at it just completely objectively, I can't in good conscience pick the Chargers to win. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. But I can't. I mean, I can't pick them right now. I'm going Chiefs 24-21. It's going to be close. That's all the Chargers play. That's all the Chargers and Chiefs play. It's going to be a close game. Please make me a liar, but I'm going 24-21 Chiefs.
Yeah, I know that's tough. I mean, I don't know how many times you picked them to lose this year. I mean, I don't know.
Never?
Have you?
No,
This might be the first time this season.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, yeah, of course, the Chargers can win. But this is the problem. I just have no faith in the Chargers' fourth quarter on either side, right? Like, defensively, it's where they're the worst. Offensively, it's where they've been the worst, especially just like last-minute, 2-minute drives. Like, last year against the Chiefs, the Chargers led both games at halftime. Last year against the Chiefs, the Chargers had a lead in both of the fourth quarters, and you just can't trust them. And like, they were better in late game situations last year than they are this year. So like, it's just a trust thing. Like, I can't trust the Chargers right now to get things done late. And if this goes like any other game that we've seen, and like this one, I have like a scary feeling this one isn't going to be a blowout. But like, if the Chargers aren't careful, like if they can't figure out their offense, if the same offense that shows up the last 2 weeks shows up against this defense, man, it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough unless the defense can help them out, right, and give them some really, really good field position, right, get some turnovers. Special teams has to help out. I have the Chargers losing 23-28. I still have them keeping it close. We'll see if they can prove us all wrong. We absolutely hope so, because we are going to be doing a live show Sunday night right here on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel either way. So make sure you subscribe or follow for free there, or just listen wherever you get your podcast from. You can also find the show every day on all of our social media. You can find us on Twitter at LockedOnLAC. You can find me on there at Dan Talk Sports and David Drogemeyer at DroTalkSD. You can also find the show on our Instagram at Locked On Chargers and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page. David, maybe they have a chance. I mean, hopefully they can pull this thing off and give us an exciting, fun show on Sunday night. Hey, we're playing with house money, right? Nobody expects them to win. go out there and get it done anyways, right? Prove us all wrong. Prove everyone wrong. Prove the haters wrong. Prove SportsCenter for showing your crying players on ESPN wrong, right? Which was just absolutely terrible.
Such a joke.
They can do it. They've done it once under Brandon Staley. Justin Herbert's beat Patrick Mahomes before. Do it on Sunday. We will talk to you guys after the game on our live show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. But until then, guys, take it easy and go Bolts.